Okay, I didn't hear any of that intro. Did you?
I did.
Okay. My audio is messing up now. Oh, sorry. Anyways, hey, welcome to the Ethan and Jenna show. Jenna, how's it going?
It's been an interesting week, actually. How about you?
Same. It's been a busy, like really busy week. This morning has been a little difficult. So I have my stuff right next to my like bed. It's all in the same room. And I go to turn my laptop on and I'm getting nothing on screen. And I'm like, what is going on? Nothing's working. So I am spazzing out because we're 15 minutes before the show. So I'm quickly
Ah,
plugging everything back in, trying to get it working. Needless to say, my dock broke. So I grabbed another dock, quickly plugged that in. That's not working either. So now I've just got cords everywhere. And apparently my audio for intros on YouTube isn't working either. So it's been an interesting morning. And then when you and I connected, you had the same problem. Audio issue.
yes. Yeah. Well, we fixed it though. I mean, it's looking
Yes,
pretty smooth.
we did. And by the way, how is everyone in the comments doing today? We are streaming. I think this is our largest stream yet because we're streaming to your Twitch, your Facebook, my Facebook, Modern Day Skeptic, Chicago Atheist Community, the Your Friendly Neighborhood Atheist Facebook page, and then of course our YouTube channel. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's a lot of places. I love it.
Yeah. So before we get into our topic, you said it's been an interesting week. How so?
Well, actually, because of the topic,
Oh,
mental health is something that I've been working on, which is one of the reasons, we keep bringing it up.
right.
But mental health in my relationship has been huge because I'm trying to learn so much about myself and my emotions, but at the same time, I'm trying to live with my partner and his emotions and his needs. And so it's very, very interesting when you move from this hierarchical relationship, husband and wife, to some kind of more of a partnership,
Mhm.
and at the same time staying mentally healthy. It's very difficult, especially like I'm an alcoholic addict, and so is my husband. So that's another interesting thing when you're both trying to take care of each other in that way. So
Yeah, relationships are a tricky thing. I'm definitely not an expert. I mean, I did have a decade long marriage, which I think taught me a lot. You know, I went into my marriage a conservative Christian and came out a liberal atheist.
yeah, I
Uh,
mean, hey.
yeah, she had some profound effects on me. And when we first started, she was a tree hugger. Not I shouldn't say tree hugger. She was just very left leaning. So I'd be like all the time, like her and I would argue politically, and she'd be like, whatever, I don't care. I'm like, oh, and I would try so hard to convert her. And little did I know that like the love she gave and the laughter and just her calming demeanor like helped turn me into a more gentle person. And now, she jokes about it. She's like, the next person you date is going to be lucky because I trained you to be good in a relationship. You just couldn't do that with me. Like,
Well,
I'm
it's my
sorry.
it's my opinion that you should be doing that with every relationship. You should be learning and taking what you can and taking
Yes.
it to the next one.
No, I agree. I was just, I didn't have much experience in relationships until her. I
Mm,
was kind of like, I would last about a month in relationships and I would just be like, eh. And I would kind of, lose interest. And then
mhm.
she didn't let me lose interest. She was she was on my ass. So it was, there were a lot of uh, downfalls to the relationship, but there were a lot of great things in the relationship, experiences and things I learned from her. I mean, even now, like I can call, my ex-wife and talk about like or ask advice on dates I go on. She'll call me and tell me stories about her, boyfriend or things she doesn't feel comfortable telling him. So, I'm one of the fortunate ones where I come out of my marriage in one piece where, both of us just want what's best for each other and don't want to try and hold each other back in any way.
That's great.
It really is. And we do have our first caller, and we also have a few lines open. So if you're interested in calling and sharing your thoughts, dial the number at the bottom of the screen, 708-554-7836. Also 708-5-listen. Oh, Jenna, did you log into Call In Studio so you could see the callers?
I didn't get to do that yet. I was gonna, because of all the technical difficulties we had, I was just gonna wait to next week to get that all figured out. But I did get to do some research on oxytocin, so we'll have to talk to our caller and see if we can bring that in. But if not, then we'll just talk about it after.
Awesome. And then also next week, we have a really exciting topic for you. We're going to be talking about mental health and recreational drugs. So anyways, here's our first caller. Jesse, you are on the phone with Jenna and Ethan. How are you?
Hi, Jesse.
Jesse?
Uh-oh.
Can't hear you, Jesse. You can't hear Jesse either, right? This is okay. Jesse, if you're muted, unmute. If you're listening on YouTube, close YouTube and listen directly to the chat. Yeah, I can't hear. I've got my audio line established. Weird.
I'd say try to call back.
Yeah.
Please. We'd like to hear what you have to say. Did we have any more callers behind Jesse?
We do not have any callers behind Jesse, so our lines are open.
We need some people to call. We have a bunch of people watching.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Going, not just with relationships, but I will say, I was terrified to. Oh, here's Jesse. Let's try this one more time. Jesse, are you there? Oh.
Hello, Jesse.
Man, either we're having audio problems or we can't hear Jesse. This is
Well, we might have to have a talk show today.
Yeah.
Let's have please, Jesse, I'm so sorry. If you can call back one more time, and then if not, then we'll have to try another caller, and if not, then we'll just have to talk between you and me today.
All right, just for the heck of it, I am going to disconnect and reestablish the line.
There you go.
So you're going to hear weird audio for a second.
Okay.
Dude, wait, what if this is my audio?
That's what I was thinking, because it could be
I hope not.
in your computer. It's okay. Hey, we got you and me, and people are here, so we can talk about. I mean, I have a lot to talk about, right? You?
Yeah. Usually I do.
Well, you had said that you hadn't heard of oxytocin, right?
Hang on, I think it is my audio.
Okay.
That is not good. Sorry. Go ahead and
we can work on it after the show, right?
Yeah. This is going to frustrate me though, because we're
okay,
and I need this audio working. What the hell is going on?
Well, at least they can hear us.
Yeah, I know, but okay, go ahead, talk for a second. Sorry.
Okay, so basically, Ethan and I were talking about relationships, and he was like, do you think that's a good topic? And I think that because I, at a young age, did a little bit of research into just kind of chemicals and hormones and how all that stuff works. And I'd heard, I lived with a therapist for a little bit and learned about oxytocin. And oxytocin is, I want to say it correctly. So I actually looked it up. It's a hormone that is used in, it's a hormone that is known as like the love hormone or the trust hormone. And it's a neurotransmitter in the brain that, for example, in hospitals, they'll use it to induce labor, right? Like it pushes labor. I guess it's maybe a sex hormone. Also. So what happens is when you get close to somebody, say you hug somebody for, I think they say about 10 seconds or a little bit longer than that, there's actually a hormone.
Your callers from
Sorry, I got it figured out. So apologize. Establishing audio everyone has to hear that, but I got it working now.
Perfect. So real quick. So there's a hormone that is released when you are in close proximity with another person for a little bit, whether it's family member or a loved one, a sexual partner. There's a hormone that's physically released in your brain that makes you more susceptible susceptible to trusting that person. So like they did a study where they did 2 groups of people and they did a placebo in this like nasal spray. And then they put oxytocin in the nasal spray. And then they tried to sell something to each of the 2 groups of people. And the group of people that had gotten the oxytocin were so much more likely to buy whatever it is they were buying. And it's interesting. Ever since I learned about this, I've been able to kind of notice it. Like, for example, if you're cuddling with someone on the couch or something, you can notice there's a little bit of like flutter in your brain at a certain time where it just kind of feels good, and you just want to snuggle closer, and you just feel, you know what I mean?
I am.
That's oxytocin. And so what I learned about this when I was like 20 or 21. And at this time, I was like running away from any kind of relationship. So I had made this rule for myself. I was like, I'm not going to hug anybody for more than 5 seconds. I don't like this oxytocin stuff. It's tricky. You know, I don't trust it, you know. But you can use it when, you know, and you know, the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Mm-hmm.
Oxytocin withdrawal.
So for example, let's say I am with a partner, and you know we get together and we cuddle regularly and stuff. You're saying like when I start missing her, part of that is the oxytocin withdrawal?
I'm saying that when you're in a fresh relationship and you got all these hormones going, and you know how that when you first leave after that date or after that first, you know, night together, and you're just like, oh, something is just keeping, I want to go back.
Yes.
You know, it's oxytocin withdrawal. You had oxytocin and it felt really good, and now it's going away. And you're like, ha. So what the trick is, when you're in a relationship, that can trick you into thinking that you love this person.
Mm.
The trick is to continue through that, right? Get used to the oxytocin and see if you still want to be with that person.
That's a good idea. I you know, it's crazy how incredibly deceptive something like that can be on your mind and compromise your ability to think clearly or critically. I mean, I definitely like am a victim of that. That's happened to me before, where I was, you know, went out with someone a few times, and I was really like, like the honeymoon phase.
Mm-hmm. Drunken love.
I've always unfortunately, I have in the past poked fun at people who fell victim for that. And then I, of course, fell victim to my own emotions. And I'm like, I guess it is possible for anyone to be deceived by their, you know, their emotions.
I mean, I've just done research into this, and it's amazing how much your emotions can trick you. Yes. But to bring it back to actually, do we have a caller still?
Yeah, we have 2 callers. We should.
Okay, let's go back to the callers, and we'll come back to this.
All right, this should work this time. I'm pretty confident. Although I will not
exercise because that works.
With certainty. I think it's working. Jesse, you're on with Ethan and Jenna. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Woo!
Yes.
Thank you, Jesse, for calling back.
I finally got through.
What's
Sorry
going on, Jesse?
that. We have had some audio issues today. I believe they are now resolved.
Good. Jenna, I am one of your first reporters. I think you know who I am.
I do. You do a lot of anime memes, don't you?
Yes, I do. Oh, God. I am so glad you know who I am.
Yeah.
I can relate so well to what you were saying about learning so much from a relationship that hasn't worked.
Yeah.
I am not one of the lucky ones. I went through a couple of times actually. Regarding mental health and relationships, when I first heard what your topic was, I was like really, really upset because I have a brain injury. 36 years ago, I was in a very serious car accident. Jenna probably knows this. And I was in a coma for 3 months, hospital 8 months, therapy for full-time therapy for a year, and living on my own now with ongoing complications. But anyway, I was with a girl for a woman actually for 18 years. I'm currently 55 years old. She's 10 years older than I am. She dealt with my problems extremely well. She's a medical technologist, and that is a higher stress level rating than air traffic controller.
Really?
Wow.
So you have to be, yeah, you have to really be on top of your game.
Okay.
I think I've heard that.
She was, yeah, I probably told that to you. You really have to be on top of your game to have a job like that. And she was so sharp. I mean, you couldn't get anything past her.
Mm-hmm.
She helped me out tremendously. I mean, she put up with a lot. She just was, oh my God, she was phenomenal.
Well, she's a medical professional. I'm sure she understands brain cognition a little bit better than the average person, right?
Probably. I don't know, but I would probably guess that.
Yeah.
Also because just of the way her personality was.
Right.
Her ex-husband was bipolar.
Mm.
And she went way out of her way just to cover for him. A lot of the times, I think also as part of her personality anyway. I already said that. But anyway, a couple of years ago, she came down with an early onset of Alzheimer's. And it's like heartbreaking.
I'm so sorry.
So, yeah, thank you. I mean, that's just, or dementia rather. It's just,
You're still together?
And here's someone who is so smart. They could just, I mean, outthink the best people. And now is like forgetting something that you mentioned less than a minute ago. I mean, you're talking about mental health here.
Mm-hmm.
Two people with mental, with mental disorders, I guess you could, not disorders, but you know what I mean.
Mental struggles.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And, that just like really, because I know that last week you were doing mental disorders, and it was like, I just wasn't in the frame of mind to call. But then this week when you said, relationships and mental disorders, I was like, oh no, I gotta call.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I mean, I can relate really well to that. And also, when you were talking, Ethan, about relationships that really weren't good, but you learned from.
Mm-hmm.
Before this person, her name is Barbara. Before her, I was in a relationship with Lucy, and I call her Lucy because she was the devil's daughter, short for Lucifer. Her name was Amy, but anyway, she was a heroin addict. Quote, recovering heroin addict, and she was on methadone, which is really, I guess, substituting one addiction for another.
Right.
And
addicts do that. Yeah.
What was that?
Although, I mean, from my understanding, methadone is a means for helping getting people away from opiates, or at least controlling their urges.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I understand too.
So then, yeah, it sounds like she's trying.
Yeah.
But please continue.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No. That's what I thought it was at first too. Well, that was my understanding at first as well. But then other people have told me, well, it's just like substituting one for another, and I don't know. I'm still fuzzy on it.
So,
but
go ahead. I know of one person, or two people in specific, that in my life that were struggling with addiction, and they were, looking for a way to improve, and they found a methadone clinic, and they went to that. And while the clinic wasn't the best, they did use it to get their urges under control. They would take it. It was like, I think it was every morning. And shortly, I think it was a couple months into taking it, they stopped, using heroin and other painkillers, and eventually were able to quit entirely and get their life back together. Now, I wouldn't recommend that for everyone, but it did help a couple people in my life. So I guess it would depend. Is she abusing it, or is she using it, as a medicine, taking it once a day to suppress and control those urges?
Well, I would say it's not any of our business.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Jenna, you're right. I apologize.
No, I mean, it's understandable to want to understand what is healthy. But when it comes to this particular person, I mean, she's taking care of herself. Even if she's going to go and further down the rabbit hole, sometimes, and this is the God honest truth, that you have to hit rock bottom sometimes before you can come back up. And if people keep preventing you from hitting rock bottom, then your subconscious thinks that you're safe, and you just stay down there. You just never come back up because you keep thinking, oh, well, I'm not down at the bottom, so I'm okay. It could be worse.
Could you elaborate? Like, what do you mean by preventing you from hitting rock bottom?
So enabling. Are you familiar with that term? So enabling is basically, for example, you or your two parents, you have a teenage kid goes out and gets drunk and wrecks the car, and you have to go and pick him up at the police station at 3:00 in the morning.
Okay.
Bailing him out would be enabling him.
Really?
Yes. Because the fact of the matter is, if you do that in real life and your parents aren't here, that's what will happen to you. And if you bail them out, you're going to teach them that they will be bailed out. Let them stay in overnight, at least, I mean, it depends on the situation, obviously, but just saving people all the time, saving people doesn't necessarily save them, because then they don't know how to save themselves.
So at what point, I guess, do you interject and try to save them? And the reason I ask this is I have a friend right now who, and I want to be clear, he's public about his struggles. So I am not violating any trust. He would be okay with me talking about this. He has been an addict at alcohol for several years now, and his health is just getting worse. He had to have part of his, because it impacted his diabetes, he had to have part of his foot amputated. And he's just continuing to sink. And I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do. I've tried being supportive. I've tried being assertive. And me and my other friend honestly believe that we're going to be going to his funeral at some point, because it's just getting worse. So where is the line between enabling and helping?
Two things. One, this is hard to accept, but that is entirely possible, that you could be going to his funeral soon, and there is nothing you can do about it. That happens, and that is a realistic possibility, and there is nothing you can do about it. Okay, so that's the first thing to accept.
How do you? Oh, sorry. I guess I don't want to accept that. I feel like if I accept that, then I am failing him.
Then you're just hurting yourself. You're not helping him by doing that. That's the other thing. To help him, he has to ask for it.
That's true.
He has to ask for it, or you're not helping.
But
your hands are tied. Your hands are tied. This is the struggle of an addict, is accepting that I have control over absolutely nothing except for myself and my emotions and what I'm doing right now. Not 10 minutes from now, not 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Not 10 years from now, not 10 years ago. This is all I have control over is me. I don't have control over you. As much as I could keep saying, God, you know, if you would only blank, if you would only learn, if you would only do this, I could talk about what you could do all the time. I don't have any control over it. It sounds like we need to do a episode on addicts, but just to cover really quickly, this is just so important. The second thing is that if they do ask you for help, I'm sorry, we still have Jesse on the line, right?
Yeah, we still have Jesse. Sorry.
Jesse, I'm so sorry. If they do ask for help, the best way, sorry, go ahead.
You sound so much like my mom, who was a counselor for alcoholism back in the 70s. She was a counselor, and I mean, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's absolutely beautiful listening to you talk about this, because I mean, it's so healthy, and I have so much respect for you.
Thank you. Well, just real quick, let me finish saying this so that we can get it out, and then we can continue talking about relationships. But so when somebody does ask you for help and they're struggling, the best thing that you can do is to tell them what your boundaries are. If you truly believe that the next time, you know, that it's that bad, that they're going to die or something, the best thing for you to do is say, I'm concerned for your life. And so I can't be around you and support that anymore. If you're going to be on blank, or if you're going to be using blank, I'm not going to be present. You have to remove yourself from the situation. And so this is what happened to me. I had two of my best friends remove themselves from my life the moment that I got married, because I was still an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. And they were like, you know what? She's good. She's married now. We can leave her, because I was such a bad drunk. I got so drunk that they ghosted me, and I needed that because it woke me up. I was like, oh, wait, I actually do have a problem, and I don't have as much control over it as I thought I did. And I finally accepted that and went to rehab and learned what was wrong with me. And I asked for help, and now I'm sober. That was the line. My friends ghosting me. All of my friends ghosted me. All of them.
But
that's what got me sober. And now I'm the best. I'm such a better friend.
Maybe I guess I don't know. Maybe I have some bias, and this is not to do like, okay.
We need to do a show.
Huh?
I feel bad. Like we should be talking about relationships. Do you think we should?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I've
like let's do a show on addiction. Let's do on addiction and mental health.
I agree. I want to make one last point, Jesse. I'm sorry.
Please. I'm sorry.
I'm scared of doing that, because now, granted, my brother passing had nothing to do with addiction, but had I not like partially written him off, I could have saved him. And all I can think about is I was his protector. Like, I was responsible for him, and I let him down. And I guess I struggle. Like, what if someone else passes because I didn't do everything I could? Like, I have so much guilt I live with every day, man. And I think about, like, if I could have just said this, or if I could have just done this, and it sucks. I don't know if I could live with the guilt of another person knowing that I could have helped them or done something. That terrifies me. Like,
you couldn't have. You have no control over them.
I know I don't have control. I just feel like there's got to be a better solution.
No. The fact is that life is hard, and we are not perfect, and we are in pain most of the time, you know, and we're just trying to figure this all out. But life is dirty. You know, it may feel like you should be doing something better, maybe because you've been taught that you could be doing something better. But the fact is, you are literally doing everything that you can possibly do. You are. Like, that's actually what's happening. So you can beat yourself up.
You're doing the best.
You're only hurting yourself. Yes, please, Jesse. What's your take on this?
I'll shut up now.
You're doing the best that you can. and you've got to know that your best is changing every day.
Mm-hmm. If you're being honest.
And that's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your best is changing every day. People's choices are not your responsibility.
No. So how are you doing, Jesse? You doing okay since finding out about this diagnosis?
It's been a couple of years now. And well, the thing is, we already started to drift apart, and maybe you see, we had been drifting apart for the last few years before then. She started to become religious, which is because she lives in a religious town.
Okay.
And she always just kind of stayed away from it. But then she retired, and just from being a medical technologist, and and she had a lot of free time, and then she just sort of the religion just sort of kind of took over. And so she started questioning, and then my atheism just that kind of drove us a little apart. And then her father died, and her mom moved from where she was up in North Jersey to.
Can I interrupt, Jesse?
Sure.
The only reason that I'm interrupting is because you're telling me a lot about her, but I'm wondering how you're doing. Like the sentence starting with the word I feel. Like, how do you feel? How are you? If you don't mind me asking, I mean, this is the point of the show. We want to check on you.
On me, how I'm
Yes.
doing now, or
right now. How are you? Do you need anything?
Yeah, I need people, I guess. I'm living on my own. I'm currently going to therapy 3 times a week for my shoulders started to hurt and my neck, and that's going to be coming to an end very soon. So I don't have that.
Good.
I don't have any structure. And my social worker says, that I got to find things to do around here, and that's gonna. I mean, that's gonna take work. First of all, the therapy that I'm going to is, I love it because it's making me exercise and get better. And I've already got rides set up to go to that, so everything is set up. Part of my injury is initiation, and getting things together. There are things that are happening in the neighborhood, in the area, that I possibly could manage to get to. But the thing is, with the initiation, it's a problem just getting that, setting that whole thing up. So that's a problem. And I'm just getting things for when therapy ends, which isn't a lot of time anyway. I don't know.
What can we do for you?
Was that?
Can we do anything for you? Can we provide any kind of resources or community? Sounds like you struggle with transportation.
Yeah, as I don't drive. I do have a trike though, an adult trike, which I'm able to ride around in the immediate area though.
Oh, that's good. But
yeah, I live in a place that's fairly, it's not like in the sticks, but it's not, it's pretty, I mean, I guess there are a lot of things around here, but not like the city.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's still, there are things around here. I mean, there are taxis and buses and
Yeah.
things like that. But I'm, you know,
But you're hanging in there.
what's that?
You're hanging in there though. Like you're figuring it out, right? You're doing what you got to do, right?
Yeah, for the most part. But as you know, my mom died just over a year ago, and it just seems like I mean, we were very, very close. And it just seems like it was a couple of months ago.
Mm.
And that was a major blow to me.
Do you talk about her?
Time of,
I mean, you
what's
talk
that?
about her now, which is awesome. But do you talk about her in your everyday life? Do you talk about, oh, I remember when this happened, or I remember that?
No, not really. I mean, I used to talk to my stepfather a lot, but he, you know, and my stepfather and I were very, I mean, he's been married to my mom since like 1978 and seeing her since 76. So, I mean, he's been more like a real father to me.
Hmm.
And he lived with her. So, I mean, he was going through a lot more pain than I was. Because I would talk to her all the time, I mean, every week.
But it's okay. Yes. So this is the thing. This is another thing. I wish that we would all, and this is difficult to do, but stop comparing pain to others and like who's hurting more.
Yeah, it's not a competition.
You know, exactly. Like you get nowhere when you decide and then it changes. And then, you know, and it's all subjective, you know, it just the fact that everybody's hurting, it would be so helpful if we could acknowledge that, and I think we'd treat each other better if we just understood that everybody's fighting their own battles.
We all
And
have
accept that.
pain.
Yeah. Like you're fighting battles too. Your feelings are legitimate, just as legitimate. You lost your mom. I mean, it's one of the worst things in the world. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's totally legitimate that you still hurt. Might I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
Just since I've experienced this recently or something similar, talking about the loved one can really help, because it's memories that keep people alive. It's talking about people that keeps people here. You know, it makes you feel better. It kind of gets you used to the idea, and it can make you accept the fact that they're gone a little bit quicker, just so far in my experience.
Right. Well, well, I was just thinking about it, and I lost, you know, Barbara, the woman I was seeing for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever. And I lost my mom. So, I mean, those are two major things right there.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So, I mean, yeah.
So you're taking care of yourself, though. You're seeing a therapist, you said, a couple times a week. So you're doing what you need to do there. You're calling this mental health show, talking about it. You know, you're reaching out to the community. I've seen you all over the comments and everything. And it sounds like you're doing really well.
Well, thanks. And I'm really, I don't know.
No.
A lot of the things on Facebook, I feel I've turned really I made a sharp turn, I think, for the worse since my mom died. And even though I try to be light about it on Facebook, it's really, there's a lot behind it. I mean, you know, it's behind my memes and stuff. They've just gone really bad. But I mean, it's like they're a cover up, really. But still, there's a lot there. There's just really.
Do you journal?
I mean, what's that?
Do you journal? Do you write?
I used to a lot more than I do now. Writing is a hobby of mine. And I used to, like I said, I used to journal a lot more than I do now. I also, I used to get, I was able to get into this, I guess you could call it self-dialogues, when I'll basically write something and then talk back to myself. If it's like really myself. It's sort of like Neil Donald Walsh does in Conversations with God.
I haven't seen that.
Okay, well, it's like where he talks something and then he'll write something back as if it's like God talking, and everyone is all so freaked out. It's like he's really has a connection with God, and it's like he's just talking to himself. And it's
I kind of do that.
I was amazed. What's that?
No, that's okay. I do that. Like I talk to myself. Like in my head, I have big Jenna and little Jenna
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just what I mean. And it's like I tried that. I did that once years ago and it's like I'm amazed at what I come up with. It's kind of like it's almost like I'm talking to a therapist, and I read those things to my therapist. I mean, she just kind of just didn't say anything because there was really nothing that she could say.
Right.
I mean, I wrote about my problems, and then I would just answer myself as if I was a therapist.
That's perfect.
Because I was just, and I didn't give myself any breaks. I mean, it was kind of like I would just say something, and then I would just counter myself, oh, this is bullshit. Who are you trying to kid?
Exactly.
What's that?
I'm sorry. I'm loving this. This is what I would recommend people do all the time.
Yeah, I really should get back into doing this, but it's just, I just wouldn't give myself any breaks, and the therapist I was with could see that, and she just kind of just didn't have to say anything to me,
right?
But I mean, that was really cool. I really got to get back into doing that.
Yeah, you should.
See, talking about it can help you discover what you need, and then when you start writing, you can discover even more what you need. You can figure out how to put things on paper. So it's like I have such a hard time writing with, like, I get my paper and my pen, and I love blank pages so much that it's hard for me to start. It's just like, it's so beautiful. So you just go, mosh pit. Anyway.
Well, that's okay. Yeah, one of the things about Barbara was that she would have to take care of her mom after her father died, and I took a back seat to that, which was frustrating. And I wrote her a note about that, and I went into very explicit detail, and I had it checked out with my therapist and many other people who I trusted to make sure that I got everything right about it. And I emailed it to her, and then she forgot all about it. And I emailed it to her a second time, and she forgot about it again. And, a couple of her best friends were mentioning to me then about her memory going. And this is before it hit her full force.
Right.
And, but I mean, I've always been a good writer, and I read this to a couple of people, and they were like, you really hit on pretty much everything. And I was just wanted to be like super sure that I wasn't missing anything, that I was, hitting everything very, very accurately. And it was just so frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and this is just going back to the whole mental health thing, trying to deal with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean, with something like dementia and Alzheimer's, it's really it's really depressing because it's like the person has died. They've died, but they are still alive. And it's really.
Have you taken time to grieve?
What's that?
Have you taken time to grieve?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I did a little bit this morning when I saw the title of the show.
Good.
I don't. I'll watch a lot of shows on Netflix. And a lot of times I'll start, crying hysterically at things that I'll go like a little overboard at certain things that have to do with humanity and relationships and being there for each other, which is like really my highest held value in life is, like I said, companionship and friendship.
Right.
Sounds healthy.
It does. They're important.
Well, to allow yourself to cry about it too. It's if you're crying, it's because there's stress in you that needs out. So.
Yeah. And like I said, those are my highest held values in life. And I almost lost mine to learn that. Visiting hours were like the best time of the day when I was in the hospital. Right. And this is when visiting hours were a certain time. This is back in 1984. So now, of course, you can visit people anytime.
Right.
But
hey,
yeah.
Love, we've got a couple more callers and just another like half hour for the show.
Oh, okay.
Do you mind calling back? We'll have a different topic next week and another topic the next week. So do you mind calling back?
Oh, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. I call these shows all the time anyway. So
yeah, I'm glad you do. I'm so glad you do.
Yeah, we appreciate your time, Jesse, and thank you for sharing
your. Great talking with you, Ethan. This has been a very, very big pleasure of mine. Definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Keep taking care of you.
Thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So long.
I gotta say, something that scares me is, again, I don't want to, I guess, losing my mind, like ever getting Alzheimer's and thinking about that. Like, that's a terrifying thought. I can't imagine how difficult it would be to look at the person you love and care about and have them start to not to recognize you or not to, have the same feelings. I guess that's terrifying.
Yeah. I think it's awesome that you can recognize that we just can't understand what that's like. Like,
right.
It's scary.
Let's we do want to move on to our next caller. I don't see a name here, but you are on with Ethan and Jenna. How are you?
Hey guys, it's IQ.
Hey dude, what's going on?
I don't know why the name didn't pop up. It accepted my little name and reason you're calling thing. So, whatever. Moving on. Relationships.
And your mental health.
One of the most fundamental aspects of humanity.
Right.
How we interact with each other. We're a social species. So, relationships is right up there with one of the most important things, because that's what pretty much is we contribute to the survival and success of our species is relationships and being able to work together on things. Unfortunately, this all starts, and you wouldn't be surprised that I would say relationship with yourself.
Yes.
This has a big role in how you handle how everybody else sees you and how you think everybody else sees you.
What do you mean by like a relationship with yourself?
When you're, say, on a date, a lot of things go through your head.
That's true.
You, am I charming enough? Am I funny enough? Am I doing this, that, does my hair look okay? There's a lot of things about your projected self-image that you want to portray to somebody else to show them that you're a fitting companion.
Of course.
You want to be the person that you want to be. So you need to know who that person is. So the person that you're showing them is actually the person that you are.
Right.
So if you really hate yourself on the person that you really are, you're going to create somebody completely different. Now, if you have issues and problems with yourself that you realize are flaws, to go off on the limb, maybe certain bigotries, or, you're a kleptomaniac, or, you've got something that is considered socially unacceptable, something that you want to change about yourself, and you're trying to, being able to accept that and being able to work on yourself, because nobody is perfect.
Of course not.
Nobody is perfect. But recognizing what you don't like about yourself and taking steps to change that is
or accept
yourself.
So,
or accept, because you can't change everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
You had said I forgot how you worded it about not hating yourself, but what do you do in a situation where
IQ, do you mind muting your computer in the background? I think I hear us echoing.
I am on a cell phone right now, and I am out right now. So if there's an echo, I'm terribly sorry. There is not quite too much I can do about that.
That's okay. We'll work with it.
I'm also in a low service area, so I'm fortunate that I could even make the call.
All right, I'm gonna just be a little open about something. So I don't hate myself, but I live with a tremendous amount of guilt. I was not only not a good person, but I was a shitty fucking partner. There's times I'll literally just message my ex-wife and be like, so I just want to let you know, I know I've told you this before, but I'm sorry for not being good at this. And she always reassures me. She's like, it's okay. It's not who you are anymore. It didn't work out for us. She's very supportive, but I live with a lot of guilt, man, not just for how I was to her, but how I was to all my partners and how I was towards people in general.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I wasn't always a terrible partner, but I was a terrible person.
I can't picture that, IQ.
I was too.
I don't believe that claim.
You have to.
I came a long way. A long way. I've learned from a lot of my mistakes, and I've made plenty. I've been a terrible boyfriend. I've cheated on somebody that I cared about for no other reason than just straight moments of physical pleasure, without consideration to somebody else's feelings or anything else that was outside of my head. I just completely inconsiderate. And, I've lied to good friends, and I've cheated on a lot of things. And, I've paid the price for that. And I've forgiven myself, because it's not just, oh, you got caught and you feel bad about it. No, you reason why these things were wrong. What impact did they have on other people? And how would you feel if something like that happened to you? It's that empathy on being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and not just, oh, so I don't want somebody to do that to me, that's why I shouldn't do it. That's close, but not quite it. Realizing the right and the wrong in it is realizing that it does harm. Try not to harm other people.
Right.
Once you make that realization, you're going to be in a much, much better position to be able to forgive yourself on things. Yes, it's you can do some terrible things, but when you can make amends with yourself, that guilt is really hard to deal with. I think the unresolved issue that you're having is that you haven't forgiven yourself yet. No, because I've only known you for a short while now. But from what I can see, you are taking drastic steps to better yourself. You're recognizing things about yourself that you found undesirable, and you're taking steps to move in a different direction. And that's sometimes all we can do. And that is enough to be able to forgive yourself.
It's not,
if
though.
you just fuck up, if you just fuck up and then you try not to do it again, that's good. But when you take active steps to prevent anything from happening again, and you make yourself what you would consider to be a better person, you become this better person. You're moving in a different direction. You know that you are substantially less likely to make those mistakes again because you learn from them, and you feel what it feels like to really be sorry about it. And if you can forgive yourself for your past, transgressions, then you're able to move on. And you're never going to forget
but how
about
do
those
you,
things.
Okay, let me, one of the struggles I have is feeling like I'm not doing enough to make up for the damage I've done to people. Like if we look at historically, if we look at my record, I was an asshole more than I was a nice person for the majority of my life. So how do you make up for that? Because that's something that I think about every day. Like I wake up and I'm like things pop in my head and I'm just like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I acted like that. Like, let me go into one of the things I did in a relationship. I fucking cheated, man. Like I cheated repeatedly on my partner before we had gotten married. And in my head, I had all these justifications on why it was okay and acceptable to do. And I wouldn't feel guilty about it because in my head, I had a reason that I was doing it. And I still remember to this day when she caught me, I saw the anger, but when I saw how I made her feel the tears in her eyes and that I just fucking destroyed her as a person, it hit me. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, how could I do this to another human being? And from why she forgave me is beyond me. She did. And
you were excusing it and excusing it and excusing it until you hit what Jenna so eloquently put. You hit that was your rock bottom. That was that moment of clarity where like, oh, what have I become?
You finally saw it.
And it was clear to you at that point. I think what you're struggling with now is that I'm pretty sure you're aware that you cannot erase the past.
Of course.
But I think that may be where your subconscious is sitting, is why you feel like you can't do enough, because what you really want to do is just erase the past and not forget about it. But you want to do more good than you've done bad, and there's nothing that is as good that compares to that as bad, because that as bad hits you like a fucking brick, and there's no good that you can do in this world that's going to have that same psychological like sledgehammer effect on you. You can feel good about things. You can do something that's just awesome. So, bring somebody to tears because you have just pretty much saved their life type good. But that's not going to impact you like that moment where you just broke somebody's heart.
The best.
If you're trying to replace, good.
I just need you to know that the best thing that you could have done in that situation was exactly what you did, which was change.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
I get that.
So if you're trying to replace that and trying to do a better deed than your worst deed, you're chasing your tail.
Yeah.
You're never going to erase the past. You're never going to, and I really highly suggest nobody ever forget about their past.
Correct.
Because
I don't think that's possible.
Learn from it. Mm-hmm. But guilt is a helpful emotion. Guilt is what that's for, is to help you remember the past, to help you remember not to do that again. Shame is when you get in this repetitive pattern of beating yourself up over it, even though the person that you've hurt keeps reassuring you that they're fine.
Yeah.
And
And that's regret comes into play with that, because the regret is terrible.
Use
Because
it.
you're dealing
You
with
are.
what ifs, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, and those will tear you apart. And that's something you were talking about a minute ago, that, you had all this regret, about dealing with your brother, and, the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Yeah. You cannot quantify, you cannot say anything about the past. Could there have been something somebody could have done back in the 1800s? The whole butterfly effect thing that could have,
And you can't say anything about the future either.
that would have made the outcome come out differently. Sure. But we don't know that. You don't know anything. You could have tried everything. And
One thing that we keep forgetting, though, is that we also can't control the future. We feel like we can because it hasn't happened yet. But the fact is, you're not in that moment. You don't know what the situation is going to be. So don't worry about it. Worry about right now. Worry about what you're doing right now. And the best thing that you can do for others is show them how to take care of themselves by doing it yourself.
yeah.
Take care of you. That's something that I learned in Al-Anon. Al-Anon is a program for people who are affected by alcoholics. So, if you're a mother of an alcoholic, if you're married to an alcoholic, if you're the child of an alcoholic, if you're the friend, sibling of an alcoholic, if you're struggling with their addiction, they have become your addiction. So that's what Al-Anon is for, is to teach you that you have the same amount of control over them as they have over their addiction. They can't stop and you can't stop. So once you stop and show them how to say, you know what, I'm going to take care of myself. Then they can say, oh, that's what that looks like. Maybe I can try that too. But if they haven't even seen it, how are they going to do it?
That's true.
Yeah. But to bring everything around full circle, and I've got to get back to work, and there's other callers.
Yes, thank you for calling.
Relationships.
Yes.
We have most certainly over romanticized human interaction. And we've been indoctrinated with this happily ever after thing. Like there's this point in life that we're all working towards, where we no longer have to deal with the strives of everyday life. Where we're just going to be able to kick our feet back and not have to worry about anything, and there's never going to be any problems. It's a fairy tale. There's really seldomly ever a happily ever after, and you cannot put too much stress on one person. I'm sure there's somebody out there that is everything to somebody, but just one other person typically is not going to be your mate, your best friend, the gossipy friend, the silly friend, the goofy friend. There's one person cannot be everything all the time.
Right.
You need to be able to seek different things from different people.
Well,
Now,
and do that to yourself. Give that to yourself.
Honest and open with your partner, but really, a good friend, good friend, is one of the best relationships, because it's about expectations. You don't have that romantic expectation from a good friend, and so you're more comfortably open with this person, and you're not really expecting anything in return.
Right.
And you start getting into marriages and stuff, there's that expectation that comes out of it, to where there's just so much that needs to happen that is, by and large, it's not reasonable to expect so much from one person. And that's where frustration comes into play, is because you had all these expectations that you didn't think were unreasonable, but are.
Mm-hmm.
And they let you down on these unreasonable expectations. And that's where a lot of marriages fail. You need to be able to give somebody some slack, let them fail, let them be open, because a good friend, being close to somebody, has more to do with being open about your faults and your weaknesses, and and your vulnerabilities than it does with just sharing your successes with people.
Mhm.
That's
Thank
where
you.
good friendships and good relationships starts, is being open and showing your vulnerabilities and not just being great all the time.
You don't owe anybody anything
Yeah.
except yourself.
I
Some self-respect.
respect.
If you respect
that
yourself, you
should
can
be
respect others.
to each their own, but I owe everybody respect. That's what I expect, and that's the only reason that I say that I owe everybody that, is because I expect respect, because I will give it, and respect
Yes.
isn't always good.
We need.
I give Darth the respect he deserves because he has no respect.
You're right.
And
You're right.
I really would like for you to start a podcast, IQ. The
You should.
insight you offer
I would
is
like to
pretty.
start a podcast.
I'll help you do it,
launching-
man.
I would need a producer, man, because I'm working on a Galaxy 10 here, and that doesn't produce a show very well.
I mean, you sound good. So
Hey, actually, I know people
out of a
who have
chat.
started on.
I'm not going to start a show.
Thomas Westbrook, I think, started on his phone. Coley Kool-Aid.
True that. Yeah, true that.
and if the content's there,
And look where he
In
is now.
China, I think. I think he was in China even.
Oh, and Exmo Lex had started her show and still does her show from an iPhone.
I was going to start mine on my phone if I didn't have people who had mics and all that. Do you do it? I mean, do it. Why not?
Well, Ethan, you've already got 15 channels. Why not start another one?
Thank you so much for calling, IQ.
Talk. This is something that I would love to do, and I feel like I have a few things to offer. Now, I'm no genius,
More than a few.
and I will most certainly be wrong about several things.
We all are.
But I can. What I can do is offer people the insight and direction that they might need to help them make their life a little greater.
I think Puck is telling you something here.
Oh, if I don't know if you could see the screen, but Puck said, if only there was someone local to IQ that had a really good setup and knew how to live stream.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, IQ. I really hope you started a stream because you have a lot to say, and that's amazing. Please call back on another show because we're obviously going to have more topics and everything, and you have a lot to offer.
Oh, I will. I love this shit.
Thanks.
Me too.
IQ.
Me too. Thank you.
Yep.
And thank you for
See
the
you
advice.
guys. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
We do have open lines. If you want to give us a call, the number is at the bottom of the screen. I would also, Jenna, I don't know that we've done this, but I do want to give a special shout out to Puck because he was the reason he put us together. And that's the reason we started a show. So special thank you to the legend Puck. And you can see him on, I have the link for his channel. Oh, crap. I don't have
Somebody
it.
can put it in the chat.
But it's like twitch.tv/ is it Java Puck or Puck Java? If you could put that in the comments. I'm sorry, I don't have it memorized. And we are here every Sunday. Next Sunday, we'll be covering mental health and recreational drugs. And while we won't be encouraging recreational drugs, there are many that I have used.
We will be sharing our experiences
Exactly.
only, and whether they were good or bad.
Yes. Since we're talking about relationships, I want to talk about dating. Like I have at first. Oh, did you have something?
Well, real quick, just because IQ had mentioned something, and before we get on to dating, real quick, the relationship with yourself.
Yes.
I think that we passed over that a little too quickly because like Jesse had said, like we were talking to Jesse and I said that there's big Jenna and little Jenna. And you know what I'm talking about? Like when you can talk to yourself, like you would talk to your best friend.
I've never tried that.
That's difficult to do, especially if you've been raised in a household that's got Christian values and promotes shame. Because it's horrible. It's harmful. But just try when you do something wrong. Like, for example, You mess up, right? You're trying your best to do good things. You mess up, right? You do something that you used to do that you don't want to do anymore. The best thing that you can do is accept that it has happened. Accept that you feel whatever guilt that you feel and allow yourself to feel it. And then say, I'm going to do better next time. And follow through with that and intend to, but accept also that it may happen again and you're just going to have to keep trying, because that's all we can do is just keep trying. So I just really wanted to say that about our relationship to ourselves is the most important one. Even if you're in a relationship, I am married and we've actually gone to calling each other partners. I think I actually mentioned that earlier. But we have to realize that we are two individuals in a relationship. And if we are giving everything to each other, we're not receiving anything.
That's true.
So you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of your partner. And just like with an addict, for example, showing them by taking care of yourself, how to take care of yourself, how to love yourself.
I'm learning that I've come a long way. There are things I've accepted, but there are other things where I am living with residual guilt and at times have trouble looking at myself and going, hey, I'm proud of who I am. And that sucks.
Practice it. Do it in the mirror each morning and say, you know what? You're a freaking rock star. You're awesome. You're trying so hard. You're putting out so many videos. You're putting out so many, friendly streams. You're trying to be Mr. Rogers of atheism. Come on. I mean,
yeah, but again, I still have this feeling that there's more I could be doing.
Does that mean that that's true?
I mean, I feel like it's true.
Does it mean that it is?
Yeah, no, you're right.
This is what we talk about in atheism is, does it mean that that's true? Sorry.
Yes, no, I know feelings are not a reliable path to truth, but at the same time,
they're helpful to understanding feelings.
It's difficult, yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
there is, I will say, on the flip side, one thing that does actually make me feel better is getting to help raise my nephew. He's one of the best things that's happened to me, and just it's really cute when I watch him try and emulate me. I'm like, oh cool, he's trying to be like me.
It's natural.
Sweet. And there are things he does that makes me feel better as a person. When we were playing in the garage one day, probably about a month ago, he's playing and he just turns in the middle of playing and looks at me and goes, I'm so glad you moved here. This house is more fun with you in it. And I was like, my heart just melted.
See, he's telling you how he feels.
Thank you. For a 4-year-old to utter those words, it was it makes me feel good. And he does this all the time. He'll sometimes, of course, we get annoyed with children harassing us, but I'm just he just wants to be around me. He steals my hat so he can put it on backwards. He'll come in my room. He'll put these headphones on and be like, not now, I'm on a stream. And it's oh, that's so damn cute.
Yeah.
And, kids do wonders for your mental health and your confidence. He's just here. One other thing I want to point out, which makes me incredibly happy. We don't have any other callers. So I hope, unless we get someone that calls, it's okay for us to vamp a little bit. But crap. The train just went out of the station. No, my nephew.
Talking about how much he loves you and how happy he is that you're there.
Well, that thought's gone.
Oh, dang it.
For example, one thing I did notice when I first moved in, he was constantly playing with certain toys. Hey, play this toy with me, play this toy. But I'm a creative dude, and now I've noticed he never grabs any of his toys. It's always can you play this game we made up or the delivery game? I make up these games while we're just doing stuff, and he loves them. So it's wow, this little kid doesn't even give a shit about his toys. He cares more about these fun, imaginative games throwing him and locking him out and just like these goofy little things. He's just so damn cute. He does cheer me up. Okay.
Well, it's awesome. Well, you're talking about your relationship to your nephew, to a kid, that's awesome. And that can help, like you said, help your mental health. But notice he's mimicking you. And I think that's a natural thing for humans to do, is to mimic the people that we admire. And I think that's why it's important that we surround ourselves with people that we admire. Surround yourself with people that you want to be like, because you're going to, regardless of whether it's intentional or not, you're going to mimic them in some ways. So that's what they mean. You are the company you keep, is because that's just human. And also the fact that he told you how he felt about you and how happy he was that you were there. There aren't enough adults that do that, I don't think. But if me and my husband do, my partner do that. Like for example, he came up to me and we were talking about love languages, and he came up to me and he pet my face and he kind of looked at me real close, and he was like, "I'm just trying to use your love languages to my advantage." And I was like, that was using the touch love language and the acts of service love language, both by sharing it with me and telling it to me, to make me feel good. I was like, honey, I cannot tell you how loved I feel right now. And he's like, oh, okay. Telling him that I feel loved when he does that, he's more likely to do that again.
Right.
But if he does that, and then I'm like, if I give him a weird reaction, he's probably not going to do that again. But anyway,
that kind of reminds me of something. There was one, I don't want to say relationship. Let's just say someone I had dated after my marriage ended, and that person in many ways really effed up some my confidence, because this was my first time kind of testing out the dating field. And there were so many things she said to me, just ripping apart me as a person, where I'm just like, wow, this person actually kind of sucks. They're not good for my mental health. But one example of that is I am when I am in a relationship with someone, and I don't mean this sexually, I'm just talking about physically, I'm touchy, I'll massage, cuddly. She's like, it's weird that you're like this. No other men are like this. And I'm like, okay, sorry, that's how I am. If you want me to stop, just tell me. Well, it's weird. It's not normal. I wanted to look at her and be like, okay, F you. That's just a mean thing to say to someone.
That's probably how she talks to herself.
That's a good point. Yeah, it was outside of that experience, I have had nothing but positive experiences in the dating environment.
That's good. Did you tell her how you felt when she did that?
I mean, I said, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry if it made you uncomfortable, but this is who I am. If you don't like that, that's fine. Maybe we might not be compatible. Well, you just need to know that you're not like normal men. It's like, okay, cool. I'm not like normal men.
I feel really bad for her.
Yeah.
Because I used to talk myself that way. I used to treat people that way because that's how I talk to myself. I would tell myself that I was doing it for you. I was doing it for your own good, so that you were aware, so that you could improve, so that you could, I was helping you by controlling you. That's just not helpful.
No, at this point, I just want to be surrounded by loving people. Like you, Jenna Belk.
Yay. I think we're doing a pretty good job of that.
I hope.
And
so.
It's, so I guess I don't really call myself an alcoholic anymore, because I'm over 3 years sober now. And thank you. So I don't drink anymore. So I'm not an alcoholic, but my partner's actually still struggling with that. And he's okay with me sharing this. But we're working on it together as a couple. And it's very, very difficult to take care of your own mental health when you're also trying to treat an addict the way that you should, by allowing them to take care of themselves, like we mentioned earlier, right? Mm-hmm. I can't fix him. I can't solve his problems for him. He's going to have to come up with better ways, to prevent himself from from drinking. But it takes practice, and it takes me understanding that he is trying. That's one of the hardest things, is when you're in a relationship and people keep messing up, and then the partner assumes that they're just not trying. And it's like, no, I'm failing. There's a difference. People don't intend to fail.
Thank you. Okay, so I apologize. I'll let you finish.
Go ahead.
No, I've not only had like partners like that, like friends like that, where they'll make this like assumption or assertion, like, well, you did this again. You know, you're repeating your mistakes, so this means you're doing it intentionally. And it's like, no, I'm really not. Like, I am actively trying to change. It may not like line up to what your idea of a perfect change is, but just because someone makes the same mistake doesn't mean they're not learning, and it doesn't mean they're not trying. Habits are hard to break, and
they could not be trying, to be fair. It could be a toxic relationship, it could be an abusive relationship, but I guess this is part of being a skeptic, is looking at all of the evidence, looking at how does he treat me in this situation, how does he treat me in this situation, you know. And you have to be honest with yourself and protect yourself. And the fact is that even though I love him more than I've loved anybody else on the planet ever, if it ends up taking such an emotional toll on me that it is killing me, that I stop growing, I have to leave.
Right.
And he knows that. I mean, I'm not going to.
No,
but that's the struggle with mental health, is you feel like, oh, well, I'm in a marriage, so I can't. Well, if you're killing yourself, then that is by definition a toxic relationship. Yeah. But this is the only thing in my relationship that I'm struggling with. Everything else is freaking gold. So this is something that is okay for us. We can both handle it. We are both working on it. But we just have to keep being honest with ourselves, and we have to keep being open with ourselves, and stop being under the impression that, oh, well, I can't tell her because she's going to be mad at me. Well, no, I can tell her because she's going to understand, and we're going to work together, and we're going to try to figure out a different way to do this. In my situation, at least. I don't want anybody to stay in any toxic relationships just because I'm in.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. I would never encourage staying in a toxic relationship.
Right.
And you know, there are relationships that aren't toxic but aren't good either, and you should not stay in them. Like, for example, one, you know, that would be me and my
right.
Just
not compatible.
Right. We weren't toxic for each other, but we weren't compatible when it really came down to it. Like, we're compatible as friends. We laugh our asses off together. We go for walks. We smoke weed. Like, we're really good and compatible friends. But as partners, no, we're not compatible.
Well, but also, even if you are in a compatible relationship, a healthy relationship, there are bad days.
Absolutely.
And I will admit this, like I said, this past week was interesting, is because my partner struggled drinking several nights. And when he drinks, it triggers me more than it should, because it reminds me of my upbringing. And I have CPTSD. So this is like a really, really bad situation, because I get triggered and then he's drinking. And so we both lose control over ourselves. And so that's the thing, is we're both now aware of what's happening and why we're struggling controlling it. And so now we're both getting control over it. But there are days that, for example, I won't talk to anybody, and it's because I had a bad day with him. And that doesn't mean that my relationship is toxic. It means that we had a bad day, but we are learning from it. And that's how you know it's a good relationship, is if you can talk about it after, try to figure out what you can do better and grow. So there's that. It's hard. It's hard. You have to commit to your partner every day.
It's a lot of continued work, and
it can be worth it.
Yeah. Anyways, I was just gonna say, we should wrap up there, but we do have one more call.
Woo! Who do we got?
It doesn't say his name. So here's the thing. I have caller ID, but I don't like saying the names that pop up in case they want to use like another name. So I'm kind of dependent on the auto screener. So you are on with Jenna and Ethan. Who is this?
Hey, this is Chewy.
Hey, Chewy. How are you?
Hi, Chewy. I like your
Good.
name.
Hey, Jenna.
And hi, Rick.
Real quick, we've only got a couple minutes left, but we'd love to hear you.
Oh, okay. I'll be super quick then, and maybe I'll just give you the topic, and I'll take the response off the call here. But it was relationships and mental health, and like my the guy who you were speaking to before, you were saying maybe he should have a podcast of his own. He touched on something that's really meant a lot to me, and that's what drove me to call. Was we have a unrealistic expectation of what relationships should be like, and they're kind of like Disney. They're happily ever after, and things will always be good. And eventually, you'll just be standing in a sunset on a mountaintop forever, la di da. Right, and it seems like I feel like I've gotten over that expectation, but a lot of the dating and stuff that I do seems to like that's what everybody's after. And I am a bit of a loner. Like I'm pretty good at being single and chilling out, and I like my space and stuff. So it's hard to like find the balance between the finding a mate that has the expectation that it doesn't have to be like we're gonna be together forever and we'll do everything together and we'll pose on Facebook together, and me not wanting that, like. Well, I do want a relationship with somebody, but I want a realistic one. And so perhaps just whatever you think about that, like where to find, how to be clear about that expectation without turning somebody off, etc.
Absolutely. I think that the best way to do that is to be upfront about it from the get-go. And so that's kind of like we were talking about with an addict, is to exhibit the behavior that you want to see. I would say the same thing in this situation. Show the person that you want what you want to see, which, for example, when they start doing something that you don't approve of, that, you know, they're doing selfies and you think that that's just unnecessary, to say, you know, I don't take selfies, but it's okay that you do, you know, but it's just not me. And so maybe, you know, if you do that enough, people can start seeing that and start doing that on their own. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like accepting, if you can accept them, they can begin to accept you. And I'm not assuming that you don't accept them. I'm just wondering if this makes any sense.
Right. Yeah. Right. I wouldn't be like, you know, knocking down any attempt to have, you know, to be the way that they're going to be. But even finding the compromise room, like that overlap in a relationship, it seems hard. I'm kind of in I live in the South, and like, I don't know, in my town, at least, it's pretty conservative, and like the people that have to choose. There's a definite cultural mentality of like everybody's got their. I don't mean to like sound negative, but like their live, laugh, love, and everybody's taking perfect pictures, and you know what I'm saying, like all these perfect lines of the front.
Yeah.
Anyway, I try to just be more clear up front and like, hey, you know, these are the ways that I think, and I wouldn't stop somebody from taking a selfie. I would take a picture with somebody, but yeah. Being clear about it seems like the idea of the happily ever after thing is kind of poisonous overall, and it's the alternative is not clearly defined yet, and maybe it doesn't need to be necessarily clearly defined as a stereotype, but I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like they're raised thinking that this is the thing you need to have, and like when they don't get it, and they hardly ever do, because people are, you know, we're people, it's hard to work out things. That's when you have all these struggles with relationships. You're like, why isn't this being a Disney movie? Why isn't this, you know? I've gotten real comfortable with it. And like, you know, me living my day-to-day life like I do, not having that expectation. I've had breakups or whatever where they're like, yeah, this isn't, we're not on a cruise ship staring off into the ocean or whatever 24/7. So something must be wrong. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Anyway, just wanted to get that off my chest.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think it's totally legit that a lot of people don't live on this planet, so to speak.
Right.
You know, but it's actually, I have a tattoo on my foot that says happily ever after.
Really?
No, well.
I got it 2 days after my wedding with my best friend. Sorry?
Oh, well, we'd all like that to happen, and certainly find ourselves in long stints of contentment, and fruitful living. But yeah, I think there's just something. I mean, I've suffered through it earlier in my life too, where you have a certain expectation that, like the last guy said, it really struck a chord with me. Was we think that we're working towards something where eventually we'll just put our feet up and like it'll be this, but it is constant work. Like the idea of constantly working on things and watching things evolve all the way through our lives, and eventually everything will come to an end, and being at peace with that. I think we don't have a culture that's really at peace with our mortality entirely, and the fact that it's constant work. But that's all.
Awesome. Well, I do, Chewy. We do have to wrap up here. We are over time. I do appreciate you calling us again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jenna. Have a good day.
You too. Yeah, it is constant work. And happily ever after isn't a prince coming and rescuing you on a white horse. But I think people are learning that. I think that with the politics and internet and people talking more, I think that we're slowly waking up.
I hope so. I think we're going in a good direction.
I think so.
Anyways, Jenna, what do you got going on this week?
I will be streaming Carrot Noises live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Jenna Belk, where I will be painting abstract acrylic watercolors and kind of Bob Ross style, just kind of chatting and painting for 2 hours at 3:30 on Friday, 3:30 Central. And then also we'll be doing this again in a week. And I will be on AXP next Sunday, the Atheist Experience with Matt. And I've got something in the works that's coming up, so keep an eye out for another podcast that I'm the most excited about. So,
good.
What about you?
Well, I am excited. I can actually just announce this real quick. I, on my main channel, just passed 3,000 watch hours. I am almost to YouTube monetization. I'm getting there. I'm so I can feel it. So if you are watching, if you could not only subscribe to my channel, which is there's a link in the description, also subscribe to Jenna Belk's channel. But this week, here's what I have going on. So Monday, every week I do a show called Table for Two, where we talk about dating, relationships, and sex. That's at 9 p.m. Tuesdays of every week is The Perspective, where you can call and talk about your supernatural experiences or belief in aliens. Wednesday on my channel, V La Bianca will be hosting the first ever Atheist LGBTQIA+ roundtable, which will be at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And then, is that everything going on this week? Oh, Friday, I will be appearing on Dave Worley's podcast.
Ooh.
And I'll be releasing a video soon on my main channel because I'm going to be changing some things up. So I want to go into detail before all of a sudden people are like, what's this stuff doing on an atheist channel? I need to explain the changes I'm making and why I'm making them.
Okay.
So that's what I got going on.
We also got a Patreon.
Yo, thank you. Yes. If you like what we do, consider supporting us. It's the link is in the description. You can support this channel for as low as $1 a month, or you can buy us a cup of coffee at buyusacupofcoffee.com/The Ethan and Jenna Show. We are also available on podcasts. That link is in the description, which is anchor.fm/Ethan-Jenna. I think that's everything.
Yes. And take care of yourself.
Oh, sorry. One last thing. Okay, so every year I would, I'll make this real quick. I would host a Toys for Tots benefit show. It would be in a bar. It was for adults. We would do everything we could to raise as much money as possible. Well, not doing it this year for obvious reasons, but I'm looking to put together a stream for Toys for Tots. So if you're interested and you're willing to help me out, I need ideas. I'm looking for it to be in November or December so we can get kids as many toys on Christmas as possible. So if you're willing to help me out with this, please contact me on Facebook or Twitter. I'll need help with promotions, video editing, flyers, and we'll need guests for the broadcast. I'm thinking about making it like an entertainment one where people can. Well, I'll go into that later. Anyway, everyone, thanks for checking us out. Like and subscribe. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.